Week 9 in the NFL is here, and that means we're at the midway point of the season. And Madden, I've done 9 games so far in those first 8 weeks with doing the season opener. Madden is sitting at just under 500 at the midway point. And we'll see if Madden can finally get over that hump, finally reach even for the first time since the end of week 1. And I believe I got the game of the week for sure. This will be a big game. It'll be for first place in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos taking on the Oakland Raiders. Excuse me. This is going to be an interesting matchup, especially both teams come in at 5-2, 6-2, 6-2. That sounds about right. Let's see. Yeah, 6-2. And might I add, the Kansas City Chiefs not far behind, a game behind them. AFC West is a very competitive division right now, and it's going to be. I truly think it's going to be interesting, especially gameplay, because let's face it. Last week, the Oakland Raiders committed the most penalties in a single game, and somehow still managed to get a victory. But that's okay. But since it's I mean, the Raiders just, for some reason, when you're an Oakland Raider, you just know how to commit penalties. And David Carr, oh my goodness.
Called back due to penalties in that game. Otherwise, Derek Carr holds the single-game record in the NFL. He would have broken Norm Van Brocklin's record of 554 set with the Rams in 1951.
Yeah, just like the in-game commentators just announced, Derek Carr threw over 500 yards. If his penalties that weren't called back, he would have broke the single game record for most passing yards. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And the game goes into overtime, and they pull out and they win. But speaking of overtime, last week I expressed my concerns about how the NFL should get rid of overtime and so on and so forth. Well, of course, what happens on this past Sunday? You had the game over in merry old England with Cincinnati and Washington, and they're used to with soccer games ending in ties and so on and so forth. Well, apparently ties just don't happen in U.S. anymore when it comes to football. That game, Cincinnati and Washington ended in a tie. I mean, I'm sure the Brits just loved it because, they're used to stuff like that. But, I mean, come on, NFL. It's time. Let's move on from ties. We're better than this. Let's get rid of ties and focus on wins and losses only. I still emphasize, I believe I remember saying my solution after one period of overtime, a quarter of overtime if it's still tied. Place the ball at the 15, and you bring out the 3v3 at first, best non-kickers to come out and attempt a 25-yard field goal attempt with no pressure, no rush, just a holder and a ball. And let's see them try and make it. And if it's still tied, after those 3 kickers, you keep going, you alternating, and the road team goes first. Road team goes first. There's no flipping the coin. There's no, I want this side, that side. No, no, no. Road team goes first, and you alternate, so on and so forth. Oh, and the Raiders strike first. And there's no flags. Well, I've been doing these simulations. There haven't been too many flags in games, but anyways, Men is sitting at 4-5. Oakland, Denver, I truly believe is going to be an interesting game. Oakland, for the most part, they just know how to win. Just like Al Davis used to say, just win, baby, and that's what Oakland's been doing. Only 2 losses on the year so far. One has been at home, or both losses have been at home. And I believe it was against the Falcons in week 2, and the Kansas City Chiefs. It'll be crucial down the stretch. Divisional game loss against Kansas City about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So, and these two teams play against each other one more time, of course, because they're divisional rivals. They play against each other one more time, and that's Week 17 at Denver, and that could be, I might be doing a rematch. Division might be on the line. Home field advantage throughout the playoffs could be on the line. I mean, everything will be on the line Week 17, but we're not there yet, so it will be interesting to see when the time comes. But oh my goodness. Last week, men did get it right with Dallas over Philly. But I mean, what heck of a game. It looked like Philly was going to just take it away, but Dak Prescott, what has he done? Down by 14, comes back, ties the game up. Dallas gets the ball in overtime, and they go for it on 4th and 1. Instead of kicking a field goal, attempting a field goal, and give the ball back to Philly for a shot, they went for it on 4th down, got the first down, and then a couple plays later, Jason Witten's wide open in the end zone because his defender bumps in against two Eagle players, bump into each other, and Jason Witten's wide open, catches it, touchdown, game over. And I mean, they are sitting on top of the NFC as we speak. They are 6-1, yes. And I mean, how many people expected the Cowboys to be sitting not just on top of the NFC East without Tony Romo, but be on top of the NFC for the first time since, I think, well, if the playoffs were today, it'd be the first time they were on top of the NFC since 07, I believe. So, I mean, and the East, ooh, Dallas has a 2-game lead in the East at the moment, especially with that win over Philly. They have a 2-game lead, but New York, the Giants, are sneaking up on them. But I mean, the Cowboys, they got their running back. They drafted their running back, Ezekiel Elliott, who's been doing great things for them. I mean, it was, in my mind, one reason why they faltered last year is because they did not sign DeMarco Murray. And I think DeMarco Murray was an idiot for signing with Philly because he just didn't. He doesn't fit Chip Kelly's offense, and that's why he did poorly last year after having that breakout season. That's best season of his career, his final season with Dallas in 2014. But one reason why Dallas faltered last year was more or less because of having no running back. And then you had Tony Romo getting hurt, Des Bryant getting hurt. It just, if you have no running game and you have to rely on a backup quarterback, I mean, you're nowhere. Excuse me. Because, in all honesty, if your starting quarterback goes down, I mean, from experience, when you go back to, say, the 2013 Green Bay Packers, when Aaron Rodgers went down, they were able to survive mainly because of their rookie running back and Eddie Lacy at the time. He helped them out. He got pressure off the backup quarterbacks mainly for Matt Flynn, because when Scott Tolzien was in there, Tolzien did okay, but you can tell he was inexperienced and so forth. But thanks to Eddie Lacy at the time, it kept the Packers alive. Plus, it helped when the Lions and the Bears both faltered. I don't know how the Vikings did that year, but I mean, it was sad and pathetic. I mean, all three teams had a chance to finally win the North, take the North. Lions shoot themselves in the foot. It comes down to Packers, Bears, final game of the season, and Rodgers comes back and Packers win. They win the division at 8-7-1. Oh my goodness. The Raiders take a 2-touchdown lead early. Hey, maybe in this game we can see Derek Carr break that single game passing record. But, so, I mean, you know, Dallas right now, they're threatening. I mean, the real question becomes, how much can this last? Can Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, these young guns, I mean, they can be. I mean, look who they take on this week, Cleveland. There you go at Cleveland. The 6-1 Cowboys take on the 0-8 Browns. I mean, I'll talk about this game a little more in depth a little bit later, but I mean, this should be a field day for them. But, let's see. Well, getting off Dallas a little bit, some other news. I mean, okay. Here, this is, I don't know if it's sad. It's not pathetic, but okay. A few weeks ago, the Green Bay Packers trade for Knile Davis because the Packers were suffering at the running back position. Both their starters were hurt. They had to place Eddie Lacy on IR. They drafted Knile Davis, and 13 days later, after 5 carries for 5 yards or something like that, 10 yards or something like that, they cut him. The Packers cut him. It's like, okay, they only traded a consolation draft pick for next year and probably don't have to worry about giving that to the Chiefs. But like a day or so later, at waivers or whatever, he gets to sign with he signed with the New York Jets. You know, ink there. But 150 minutes later, not even 2 hours, 150 minutes later, the Jets cut him and signed C.J. Spiller. So it went from Knile Davis being the 4th string running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, gets traded to Green Bay for a chance to become the potential starter and help boost the Packers in the run game, to being cut, signed by another team, and being cut not even 2 hours later by that team. It's like, and C.J. Spiller, this is his 3rd team for this year. He was with New Orleans, gets cut there. Packers brought in C.J. Spiller, looked at him, said, no thanks. Signs with Seattle, and then gets cut from Seattle and gets signed by the Jets. It's like, wow. What the heck? What did Nile Davis do wrong? But
he creates mismatches with his size.
I mean,
Slot receivers do the same thing, but
it's a
they're
crazy
quickest,
world the
they're
NFL is. It's a
speedy, and they're
business,
route running savvy.
and players need to realize that. So, but speaking of being a business, apparently we got some disgruntled players. Namely one in Cam Newton. Cam Newton's not happy, and I don't blame him. I mean, I don't really care for the guy. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, nice person, this and that, but his attitude, I mean, especially in the Super Bowl and prior to that, I mean, he's the guy that when things go right, he's higher than a kite. He's happy-go-lucky. But when things go wrong and his team loses, he's pouty and upset and a big old cry, whiny baby. But I thought that all changed after week one of this season, because I mean he took a couple good lickings against Denver week one, and it's like not going to blame the officials, not blame officials, but come this past week against Arizona, he took a few lickings, and like once he rolls outside the pocket, because he's a big guy and he likes to run. Once he's outside the pocket, in my opinion, it's fair game. But when he's in the pocket, referees need to treat him like Tom Brady, like Drew Brees, like Aaron Rodgers, and he's the reigning NFL MVP. And like he took a cheap shot, not a cheap shot. It was like I forget which player was from Arizona. He like jumped out, grabbed him by the knee, and he fell. And obviously I'm sure the Cardinal player didn't mean to intentionally hurt him and so on and so forth. But that's supposed to be a flag. That's supposed to be a penalty. And referee, I didn't see nothing. But it was Campbell fined for a hit, and he gets hit, and Cam Newton finally says enough is enough. Players get fined for saying and doing stuff, but referees need to be held accountable for missing calls, because I didn't catch that, I didn't see that, doesn't count anymore. It doesn't matter, and I don't blame him. It's like every time someone starts talking about Cam Newton, they start bringing up Shaquille O'Neal. Just because how big Shaquille O'Neal was, it's like, you're bigger and so forth, you can take the punishment. It's like, no. Excuse me. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it always seems like when any other quarterback outside of Cam Newton, maybe outside of Russell Wilson, anyone that likes to run the ball, if someone slaps, like puts a little pinky on the helmet, that yellow hanky, comes flying out. But it just seems like when it comes to Cam Newton, they can't find that yellow hanky. And finally, Cam Newton blew up, says he's going to talk to the commissioner and doesn't want to deal with this anymore. The referees need to be held accountable, and I don't blame him for that. Like, referees do need to be held accountable, and there's plenty of times referees should be held accountable. Because, in all honesty, it comes down to the officiating. If the officiating's crap, I mean, that would, the momentum.
And that's fun, isn't it? And what a really
nice
game right there on first down. Brings up a nice second.
Well, I will say, the momentum of the game may switch. Now, I will say something. If anyone makes a comment, blah blah, like, I know CJ Anderson is out of the game. I did update the roster. But I believe CJ Anderson, he is out and done for the season because of a bruised arm or something. I'll look that up in a second, but that's my bad. But I don't think CJ Anderson. The run game may be affected a little bit, but I don't think it'll make that much of a difference in this game, to be all honest.
Now this will be the 9th play.
At the moment, it hasn't helped them. But speaking of injuries, it looks like Big Ben might be back.
It's a good pickup of 7 yards, and now they're looking.
And I mean, he suffered a knee injury a few weeks back, his meniscus.
And now they're looking for the big boys to get him in the end zone.
It looks like the indestructible big Ben Roethlisberger will play Sunday. We'll see. And it'll be a crucial game. It's a divisional game not for first place, I don't believe, but I mean, hey, there we go, Broncos. I mean, it just seems like Big Ben, like they said, indestructible. It's ridiculous. Just like how some players can come back from injuries just so quick. Whatever. But it's just incredible how okay. Going back to C.J. Anderson, his injured his knee in Week 7 against Texans, but continued soreness. Okay, he also underwent surgery to repair his meniscus. Wow, a lot of meniscus injuries. Don't just hear that too often. But I mean, if Big Ben can come back, I mean, it will help it would help the Steelers a lot, because the AFC North race is tight. Pittsburgh at 4-3. They have a 1-game lead, but because since Cincinnati's game ended in a tie, which I will talk about in a little bit. That could help or hurt Cincinnati. And this is a big game between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Baltimore wins, both teams will be 4-4, and Baltimore will hold tiebreaker.
As the Raiders come back
out
on offense, you and I agree we have to give a tip of the cap to Donald Penn, who scored in Week 8 his 4th career touchdown.
Where's the game this week?
By an NFL
Looked
player
at.
who weighs over 300 pounds.
So what he does,
it's at Baltimore. Whew. That's a tough one to pick at the moment, because Baltimore has won games that they should have lost and lost games they could have won. And so they're up and down sort of this season, Baltimore. And I'll be going over the standings in a bit and so forth, and then look at who I had in the playoffs and who I might want to flip in and out. But nice tackle. And playoff, so forth. The dealio. But I mean, that's the funny part when we get to the midway point of the NFL season, because preseason you have all the analysts and talking about they talk about who preseason predictions, playoffs, championship games, Super Bowl champions, MVPs, all that. And then, of course, when we get to Week 9, everyone's like, okay, we got to revisit our preseason picks. This is our time to change it up. And then, season comes and goes, and like, okay, let's check. Okay, these teams made the playoffs. Now let's see who we like in the wild card week, divisional round, championship, Super Bowl champions, and so forth. And it's like, yeah, MVP. This is gonna be the MVP. So, fumble, and that's another interesting point when it comes to Week 9 in the NFL. In the other 3 major sports in North America, the NHL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball, Usually at the halfway point, there's the All-Star break. All-Star break's roughly around a little past midway point of the season, but they play, half their season was 41 games, usually around 50 games for hockey and basketball, and then, 80, 90 games for baseball before their All-Star break. But the NFL, they don't do that. They play 17 weeks, buys here and there, and it's just ridiculous when they throw in buys. I mean, again, I think 6 teams have buys this week. And then you have a half a game here, half a game there. Not until like week 12 or something. Then everyone has had their bye, and we're all happy, said and done. We can put it to the grind and finish out the season. But
they feel like they've got something going, and they feel like they
can
attack again.
No, the NFL, they want buys randomly. Like the Packers and Eagles, they had bye at week 4. I think the Browns have a bye. I think week let's see, 13, 14. At week 13, and they don't usually have buys week 13. When there were 31 teams in the NFL, they had to have a team on bye every week because there's an odd number of teams because we had to bring back the Cleveland Browns, and then we have to get 32, so we have even numbers, and we got the Houston Texans and so on and so forth. So, anyways, how about let's take a look. We'll take a look at the current standings in the NFL. See who would currently make the playoffs. Go back, look at who I thought would make the playoffs. And quick glance at my picks. They don't seem too far-fetched for some teams, but others, it's like, what was I thinking at the time? Because by now, the midway point, it's at eye test. Like I said before, Oakland Raiders, they're 6-2. They could easily be 2-6. They just get the final say. Denver, they're 6-2 as well, but yet they're defending NFL Super Bowl champions. So it's kind of, but what type of team are they? So let's take a look at the current standings in the NFL. As usual, we start off in the AFC. The best team, one of the 2 teams with the best record in the NFL. The best team in the AFC, none other than the New England Patriots. As usual, it just seems like year in and year out, if they're not sitting at number 1 in the AFC East, what is wrong with them? I mean, it's the last time they missed the playoffs was 2008, if I'm correct, because that was when Tom Brady went out for the entire season. They actually finished the season, I think, 10-6, but they just lost the division and lost a wild card spot. I think Miami won the division that year, and they haven't looked back since. After their 16-0 season, finished the season 18-1. They haven't looked back. I think I'm pretty sure they've won division titles from 2009 to now. So, but Patriots, they stand on top of the division right now at 7-1, followed by Buffalo, who finally, they get beat. New England got their revenge on Buffalo, and funny story there is apparently on their game this past Sunday, some fan decided to throw a dildo onto the field. And it's like, come on. Yeah, sure, it's funny and that, but apparently 2 refs run over when the play's over, blah, blah, blah. It was near, I don't even know what play, but it was like near the end zone. I think New England was trying to score and stuff like that. But refs run down, 2 refs look at it, they look at each other, and one just kicks it off the field. It's like, how did that, who wants to smuggle that into a game? And then you throw it on the field? It's like, come on. And that's by far one of the crazier things to see get thrown on the field at a football game. So I suppose it's better than trying to tackle a streaker. But anyways, New England's at 7-1 in the East. Buffalo is 4-4. They are slowly slipping behind. Patriots, as usual, are in cruise control, and they have a bye this week. We'll see how Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets do with them having a bye, because they all play this week. They all played. But Buffalo 4-4, Miami, they are 3-4. I believe they just had their bye, so they're back. They're healthy. They're on a 2-game win streak. So if they get some momentum going, they might see some action. And then you have the Jets, the lonely Jets. They're 3-5. So they're not too far out of the picture here. They've won 2 games as well. But I mean, they did just beat the Browns, and so why not? So AFC East, New England would have to trip and fall somewhere down the road to lose that lead in the East. But Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets, all 3 can make a good statement for second place. And those 3 teams, they can finish strong, and it'll all come down to divisional play. Moving on to the AFC West, you have, like I said before, the Oakland Raiders. Maybe next year, soon to be the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, finally having their best season in Oakland in, what is it? In 14 years or so? Since the 2002 season? Oh, just run it in, Simeon. Come on. 1, go for it, Denver, and 2, that was a touchdown. I don't know how many quarterbacks would just stand in that pocket when they're 5 yards away from the end zone. But anyways, Oakland 6-2. I mean, last week, most penalized team in a single game. I think it was 23 penalties, and some of them were foolish and stupid, like false start, offsides, and 2 main men on the field. Others like personal foul, holding, stuff like that you can easily, those are the penalties. It's like, okay, it happens, but the 2 main men on the field, offsides, false starts, those type of penalties, those are the frustrating ones. No, don't let that happen. But Denver at 6-2, right behind Oakland. So this game will determine. First off, it'll determine. Hopefully, if it does not end in a tie. I'm sick and tired of ties. I really wish where I play my NFL pick'ems. Hey, I want this game to end in a tie. I'm hoping maybe one of my man simulations will end in a tie. Maybe. I can only hope, but I hope not. But it's possible this game could end in a tie. But Oakland's at 6-2, Denver's at 6-2, right behind the defending NFL Super Bowl champions. Denver having a little, let's see, at the moment they're 2-1 on the road, so they haven't played too many road games. And the Raiders, they've already played 5. So you know what that means? They still have 5 more home games, and this is one of those 5 home games they have left. But yet they end the season on the road against Denver. But Denver 6-2, and Kansas City, because they had a bye earlier in the season, They are 5-2, and they're right behind Denver and Oakland, just ready for one of them to slip up. And that's the thing. If Oakland wins and Kansas City wins, I mean, Oakland will still be ahead of Kansas City because of one more win. But I do believe Oakland has a bye next week. And if Kansas City wins next week, Kansas City jumps Oakland for first place. And Denver would be in third place. So just like that, everything gets jumbled around. And then Kansas City's 5-2, like I said. And last but not least, the San Diego Chargers, 3-5. Don't count them out. And what a throw was that? But I mean, San Diego, 3-5. Don't count them out. San Diego right now, they're 1-3 within the division. If they can finish with two more, if they can finish wins against the other two divisional foes. See, they played Denver twice already, and they played Oakland, San Diego once, and they both lost. They split with Denver, and then they lost to Oakland. They lost Kansas City, because I don't think they played Kansas City twice already. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think Kansas City will make that leap to put pressure on either teams in the West, but it'll be interesting down the road. I mean, this division is going to be one of the best divisions when the season's all said and done, just because of their record. And it's a possibility this could be the first time ever that all four teams in the division do not have. I'll say they don't have losing records. Now let's AFC North. Division leaders, Pittsburgh Steelers at 4-3. You know, won some games they should have lost, but no, not really. No. They are 4-3, and they're the only team within the division that has a positive net points. And then Cincinnati, they're sitting at the division. They could have been at 500. He's sitting at 500. But no. Game had to end in a tie. So it's they are 3-4-1. At the moment, they only have a half game lead over Baltimore just because of that tie. They're both 3-4, but because of that tie, they have the same number of losses and same number of wins. That tie puts them ahead. Now, if Baltimore would win this week, I think Cincinnati has off this week. If Baltimore win, they would be 4-4, and they would leap. Yes, they would leap Cincinnati because they have one more win. But Baltimore is at 3-4, and of course the worst team in football, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the city of Cleveland was on cloud nine when the Cleveland Cavaliers brought home their first ever NBA championship this past summer and brought a championship back to Cleveland for the first time since the 60s. And in my opinion, that's a bad taste. I would have liked to see LeBron just stay in Cleveland, not go to Miami, not being a little selfish, has to go somewhere else, bring home an NBA championship for himself and say, hey, now I have a few rings, I could sleep easier at night, I'll come back to Cleveland. I don't care if I win or lose. Yes, I want to bring an NBA championship to Cleveland. I promise you I'm going to, but if I don't, well, it's okay. I still got these two babies. And they won. And then the Cleveland Indians, they were riding high. Second best record in the American League. They get to the World Series. Haven't won a World Series since 1948. Well, that doesn't mean jack crap because they played the team that haven't won a World Series since 1908. And that was the Chicago Cubs, who beat you. Who beat them. I really wanted the Indians to win, but congratulations to the Cubs. Cubs beat them and finally end the longest drought in the 4 major league sports of winning a league championship. And then you have the Browns. 0-8 on the season. And I believe they still have 5 more games to play before they have their bye. And I mean, the city of Cleveland, congratulations. You have NBA champions. You have the American League champions. But what do you do with the Browns? They somewhat bring a bad taste in your mouth, sort of. But hey, you know, Browns, all you gotta do is get a game to end in a tie, then you're not worse than the 08 Detroit Lions, who finished the season at 0-16. Just get a tie. Be 0-15-1. You'll be better than them. So, but moving on. Moving on down to the AFC South. And surprisingly or not, Houston is above 500. All four teams in the South. I might add this real quick after. All 4 teams in the South have a negative net points. The Houston's at 5-3, and they have a negative 30. So the games that they lost, they got blown out in. The games they have won have been relatively close. AFC South is the only division that all 4 teams, in the AFC at least, have negative net points, while the AFC West are all positive. And the San Diego Chargers, when they win, they win. And when they lose, they barely lose. All 4 teams in the West are positive net points. That's just amazing. But anyways, Houston, they're on top of the division at 5-3. Somehow with Brock Osweiler, they bounce back. They beat Detroit this past week, and I really thought Detroit was going to win, but Tennessee, here's the shocker to some degree, but not in my opinion, because they got DeMarco Murray, they got a running game that helps young quarterbacks like Marcus Mariota. Tennessee is in second with 4-4, but then you have Indianapolis, who thought was going to be the next savior in Andrew Luck. They are 3-5, near the bottom of the division, bottom of the NFL. And then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are 2-5 and bring up the rear in the AFC South. And me personally thought I'm one that's a sucker. I bought that Blake Bortles was going to be here and there. He's going to be that next quarterback, just like David Carr is. I mean, but people thought Jacksonville will jump out, beat Green Bay. That'll be the starting point. It's like, nope. They lose to Green Bay and then start losing. They are 1-3 at home, 1-2 away, 1-1 in the division, 1-4 in the conference, and 2-3 in their last 5 games. So that means they started the season 0-2. At least. But I mean, Jacksonville, I don't know. They finally fired their offensive coordinator. They have promoted their quarterback coach to offense coordinator, and it's just, who knows? So that's the AFC. Moving on to the NFC, like I said before, in the NFC East, we start the Dallas Cowboys. Best record in the NFC. Only a game, like overall in the NFL, just a game behind the Patriots. But the Patriots have a bye. Cowboys, they get to play the rest of their season. They are sitting on top of the East, 6-1. I mean, I thought they'd be good. I didn't think they'd be this good. Close behind, though, are the remaining 3 teams. You have the New York Giants, football Giants at 4-3, right behind the Cowboys. And might I add, the Giants do have a victory over the Cowboys. That's where their one loss, Week 1. Week 1, little blemish. Since then, Cowboys 6-0. Philly, the team they just beat this past week, who I thought Philly would end up beating Dallas, have first place in their hands, but they lost. They're 4-3. I don't know. That's why New York's ahead of Philly. Philly is 0-2 in the division. The Giants are 1-1 in the division, so that's why. And the Redskins. Oh boy. The Redskins are 4-3-1. Just like I complained about Cincinnati. If they could have won that game, they could have been 5-3 and be in second place in the division. So at the moment, the division is still 2 games out for all 3 teams. They're 2 games behind Dallas, who's in first place. I mean, it's going to be tough to catch the Cowboys, but the Cowboys have played 3 divisional games, 1 against all 3 teams. So they have to play all 3 teams again, at least once. And if Dallas goes 0-3 against those, they go, at the moment, they say that their next 3 games against the division opponents, they would have 4 losses, and those 3 teams can move up. I'm pretty sure at least 2 teams from the East will make the playoffs, especially looking at the rest of the conference. And speak of the rest of the conference, we move to the NFC West. And the Seattle Seahawks are in first place at 4-2-1. This tie is going to be. This tie will be very interesting when it's all said and done. But right now, more or less, they lost this past week. They tied a week ago, and I'm not sure what they did 3 weeks ago. Let's see if I can find that. Trying to think who they played 3 weeks ago. Because they take on Buffalo this week, which will be an interesting game. Just give me, come on. Where's their schedule?
Just play after play after play on this long drive for the offense.
Oh, well, we got 3rd and goal here, up by 4. Oh, yeah, they beat Atlanta coming off their bye. That's it. They won, tie, and lost. And they were on a winning streak for a while.
So he throws it away, and that brings up 4th down.
So,
So now on 4th down, the Raiders
Seattle, top of the West at 4-2-1. But Arizona, since they couldn't, when they played each other, they couldn't decide who should have won the game. They're right behind them at 3-4-1. And like I said, this tie is going to come in. If it comes down between Seattle and Arizona, someone has to win game 2. Somebody has to win that second matchup between the 2. And I'm hoping it's Arizona personally. I feel like Seattle's just not there. I know Richard Sherman, he was complaining about officiating. I'm not sure about why or what, but Richard Sherman likes to complain all the time. But their second matchup is going to be a big deal. The winner might pull out the victory. But hey, 3rd place in the West, the Rams, the LA Rams. They're not too far behind, but yet they have lost 3 in a row. So that means they were 3-1 at one point. Have lost 3 in a row, but they're still in it. They're still in it in the West. Why? Mainly because of those ties between Seattle and Arizona. And of course, San Francisco, the 49ers bring up the rear after beating the Rams week 1. They have lost 6 straight. They're at the bottom of the barrel. You know, at least they have a win. Something Cleveland can't say they have. So the West is going to be tight near the end. Whoever wins, if that second matchup between Seattle and Arizona ends in a tie, I mean, oh my lordy, I don't know what to say. But I don't want to even imagine that. We move on to the NFC North, and when it once seemed the Minnesota Vikings seemed unstoppable at 5-0. They decided to have their bye. And the last 2 games, they lose to Philly, and then they lose to the pathetic Chicago Bears, who aren't so pathetic anymore, it seems like. They got Jay Cutler back, and the team that does look pathetic are the Vikings and their offensive line. Because Sam Bradford, I don't know how many times he's been sacked in the last 2 games. I think 11 or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous. And just yesterday or so, 2 days ago, their offensive coordinator, former coach of the San Diego Chargers, Norv Turner, resigns. He's like, I'm done, I'm out here, I don't, blah, blah, blah. And the Vikings they still sit on top of the division at 5-2. I mean, but their defense has well, obviously have given up points. And I mean, their last 2 games have been on the road. I mean, and oh my, I really wanted to pick Chicago last week. I really did, but because I just don't like the Vikings, and I finally said, okay, I'll pick Minnesota because the Bears aren't doing good. But on the plus side, Minnesota is at home this week, but yet they take on yet another divisional foe in Detroit. So that's going to be an interesting game. But Minnesota in first place at 5-2. Green Bay, my beloved Green Bay Packers, they're still in the hunt for the North. They're at 4. Oh my goodness. Oh, they are 4-3. And they're battered and bruised and bloody. I mean, they played a great game this past week against Atlanta. They end up losing by 1. Their defense, this all year and in years past, their defense, even in week 1, week 3, week 4. No, not week 4. They had bye week 4. Week 5. Week 5, they lost week 6. Week 7, no, week 7. No, I mean, anyways, their defense, when it's all said and done, when it needs to be possible to make that stop, they have. But when you get some, you got to give some. And this time, they give some because they didn't get any. And it was just a close game, great game. And, I mean, I've been upset plenty of times the Packers have lost. I mean, when they lost to Dallas earlier in the season, it was already decided before the game was over. So I was more frustrated than mad. But, like, if you want to know mad, go to the Fail Mary. That was mad. That ticked me off. But, anyways, Green Bay 4-3. They're all beat up. So the offense has it 1st and 10. Offense, defense, but somehow, some way, they still find a way. Somewhat reminds me of their 2010 campaign when they, like half the team was on IR. They sneak into the playoffs and then run the table. That's all that matters. That's all that matters when it's all said and done is who is the hottest team heading into the playoffs. And when that time comes, I'll have my pick. Detroit, they come in at 4-4. They're in 3rd place. They're still in the thick of things, especially when it comes to the wild card factor. And so, like, if you don't have 2 teams from the East, you might have 3 teams from the East. You might have 3 teams from the North to win it. But Detroit is similar like the Raiders. They just can't. This year, they just can't get that win. They know how to lose more than know how to win. But then the Bears, they bring up the rear at 2-6. They got Jay Cutler back, and hey, they might get that train rolling. But 2-6, bring up the rear. They're still near the bottom of the barrel. And finally, NFC South. I mean, speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, they just played Thursday Night Football against divisional foe that beat them early in the year, and they got the last laugh. And right now, they're sitting at top of their division at 6-3. And at the moment, they're the hot team. They're one of the hot teams in the NFC. I mean,
defensively, they were in zone coverage there. Do you have to be a little
think that makes sense, 6-3 out.
But
But anyways, maybe they're 7-3. No, they can't be 7-3. That wouldn't be possible. 6-3. That's right. That's right. 9 weeks so far. Yeah, they're 6-3. They're 6-3. They beat Tampa Bay. They beat the Packers last week. They should beat the Eagles 3 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago. They also should beat San Diego 3 weeks ago. But that's where 2 of their losses came against Seattle and San Diego. And they could easily be a 1-loss team. They easily could have been. But they're like the Raiders at the moment. They can win when it matters. And can lose when. But all that matters right now is winning the South. And right now, I mean, New Orleans, they're 3-4 at the moment. They're a game behind Atlanta. I mean, Tampa Bay now, they're 3-5. They're 2 games behind Atlanta, and defending NFC champions, the Carolina Panthers. They finally get a win last week over Arizona. They finally get a win, and they're 2-5. They're 2-5. And so, New Orleans, all four teams have really bad defenses. I just don't see New Orleans, Tampa Bay, or Carolina make that push, make that threat against Atlanta. Atlanta, they control their own destiny. Atlanta has to fumble up. They have to muff up. Who? 60.
61 and 63 in his career.
Oh, let's see this real quick.
Shy of midfield, a 59-yard attempt. And he's gonna miss this.
Oh, no good, but they take a 7-point lead. And the NFC South is going to be I don't think it's going to be a tight race. I think Atlanta would really have to mess up big time if they lose. And I just don't see Carolina coming back. It's possible. I mean, they're defending NFC South champions for 5 years running, I think, if I'm correct. But Tampa Bay, New Orleans, especially now with Jameis Winston, he got hurt a little bit, but so those are the standings. I gotta take a quick break, gotta get some water, got a little dry throat. So be right back. Look at playoff standings in a second, and then how bad my preseason picks look at this moment, but yet how good they do as well. So be right back.
Pass into the end zone here, and after the short pass, he'll score, cutting the deficit to 7. So that's it for us. We'll go back now under the lights for the second half of this Thursday night matchup.
And I'm back. It really sucks when you gotta talk and talk and talk and get that dry throat and run out of water. But anyways, let's take a look. Take a look at the playoff picture, playoff race as we speak. If the playoffs were today in the AFC, Patriots 1st seed, Raiders 2 seed. At the moment, this game would determine who will be 2nd and who would be first wild card. But right now it's the Raiders. Patriots and AFC East champions, Raiders AFC West champions. 3rd seed Texans. Just because they have one more win, they would AFC South champions be the 3rd seed, and the Pittsburgh Steelers AFC North champions and the 4th seed. And the 2 wild cards, 5th seed Broncos, 6th seed Chiefs. But you look like right now they have strong hold, but the Titans, the Bills, they're right there. They're right behind them by 2 games though. They're knocking on the door. But you got Bengals, Ravens. Okay. Titans, Bills, Bengals, Ravens, and Dolphins are just 2 losses behind the Chiefs and Broncos. So they have a chance. On the NFC side, NFC East champions, the Dallas Cowboys, would be the #1 seed, home field advantage throughout the playoffs on the NFC side. While the Vikings, yes, they may have lost 2 straight games, they would still be the #2 seed. But that may change depending on what happens on Sunday. They would be the NFC North champions. They would be the 2nd seed. 3rd seed, Atlanta at 6-3 right now because of Thursday Night Football. They would be the 3rd seed, and the Seahawks would be the 4th seed and NFC West champions at 4-2-1. The 5th seed are my beloved Green Bay Packers. Beloved Packers. Somehow that's the only positive thing I got out of Sunday is that they're still in the playoff race. They just got to roll off some wins. And 6th seed are the New York Giants. That surprised me, but that's because they jumped the Eagles, who have the same record but have a worse division overall record. That's why Giants are ahead of them, and the Packers are ahead of Giants because of their head-to-head matchup. So that's what the playoffs look right now. I mean, going back, looking at my picks, I mean, I had the Cowboys with the NFC East champions. I had the Texans as the AFC champions, and I had the Patriots as the AFC East champions. So I have those 3 riding pretty good. And I do have the Giants as a wild card team. I had the Steelers as a wild card team. I had the Chiefs as the AFC West champions. Well, let's do the AFC side. I had the Bengals. I had the Chiefs. I had the Patriots. And I had the Texans. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. North champions, West champions, East champions, and South champions. And my 2 wild cards, Steelers and Jags. And right now, Jags, I gotta throw that out. NFC side, of course I went with Green Bay because they had the easiest schedule out there. I mean, they could still rack off 9 straight wins. But anyways, I had Packers, Cardinals. They're not too far behind. That tie is hurting them. They can still win the West. Still possible. Panthers. Oh,
And it'll leave them with a 3rd and 11.
And Cowboys. My wild card teams were the Giants and Seahawks. So, at the moment, I got, let's see, 4 from, I know I have 4 from the NFC and 4 from the AFC for picking teams that would make the playoffs currently. So, I'm not doing too bad, but obviously I would take the Jags out. I'd take the Panthers out. No, excuse me. Like, if I had switched some up, obviously, I let the Falcons, I feel like they're going to win the South at this point. Cowboys, to be honest, they have a long stretch to go still. And depending on how the Eagles and the Giants play, and the Redskins, I'll throw the Redskins in there.
He's going to go up top for the end zone.
Whoa. I mean, that could be a tight race. And like I said, 2 teams from the East, NFC East, will make it. For sure. And if I had to pick only one other division to have 2 teams come out of, it would be the NFC North. The Vikings, though, they need to start getting back on track and protect Sam Bradford if they want to get back to the winning tracks. And Green Bay needs to stay healthy. I'm not going to be too heartbroken if they miss the playoffs because they lost too many games because of injuries. But no one's going to feel sorry for them. No one's going to feel sorry for me if my team doesn't make the playoffs. I'm not going to feel sorry for you if your team doesn't make the playoffs. That's just how it is. And like the old saying says, there's always next year. But I did have the Raiders finish 2nd in the West and the Broncos 3rd. That's still possible. Excuse me. But get to the picks very shortly, but if I had to pick, because we got to do power rankings, if I had to pick my top 5 teams in the NFL right now, unfortunately, I will say New England just because they still only have 1 loss. And they'd be my number 1. You know what? They wouldn't be my number 1 team. They'd be my number 2 team on my top 5. I go Dallas. Dallas is number 1 because they just show how good they are. It'd be Dallas is number 1. New England's number 2. Oakland is number 3, barely over Atlanta. I know Atlanta beat Oakland, but they have 1 less loss at the moment. You can flip them between 3 and 4, 4 and 3. But my 5th team right now, since Minnesota's losing, they're slipping a little bit. I would almost have to go between Kansas City or Denver. I would say I'll go with Kansas City because Kansas City at the moment is the odd team out here, just because they had their bye, but they beat Oakland. So top 5 teams: number 1, Dallas; number 2, New England; number 3, Oakland; number 4, Atlanta; number 5, Kansas City. So I feel like those 5 teams are not that they're untouchable, but they have momentum on their side and they can ride it at the moment. So let's take a look. We got moving on to the picks. At the moment, I am prior to Thursday night, 59 and 59. And those stupid ties. I don't know if I can express anymore, but I'm going to try and stay away from them. Those ties are frustrating because they come as pushes. But we got 13 games this week. 6 teams have byes. Arizona, Chicago, Cincinnati, Houston, New England, and Washington are your teams. The 6 teams that have byes this week. They get to rest, relax, and just take it easy. Hopefully, relax, heal up, and say, hey, at least no games end in a tie. Last week, I did finish 7-5-1, above 500. I'm slowly climbing up. I'm slowly getting better. Yet again, it's like I got all the early games right, but once the afternoon hit, woo, there's some of that close games like, for example, I picked Arizona over Carolina. Carolina won by 10. I picked Detroit over Houston. Houston won by 7. I picked Green Bay over Atlanta, 1 point difference. I picked Philly over Dallas. That was a 6-point difference. And last but not least, foolish me, in my foolish eyes, I picked Minnesota on the road at a divisional rival against a team that has really nothing to play for, and get that wrong by 10. But we move on to this week. This week is what matters. We have 13 games. We start week 9 with Atlanta at Tampa Bay with a redemption match. Then we move on to Sunday. We have Dallas at Cleveland, Jacksonville at Kansas City, the New York Jets at Miami, the Detroit at Minnesota, Philadelphia at the New York Football Giants, Pittsburgh at Baltimore, Carolina at Los Angeles, New Orleans at San Francisco, Indianapolis at Green Bay, Tennessee at San Diego. The game of the week, Denver at Oakland, the Sunday night game. And last but not least, Week 9 comes to a close on Monday Night Football, where Buffalo is at Seattle. And so we start off with Thursday Night Football, which has come and gone. And boy, oh boy, was it not a game. And yet again, this is one reason why I have Atlanta in my top 5 teams. Atlanta, I did pick before. I did pick Atlanta. So now I am, because Atlanta did beat Tampa Bay 43-28. And now I'm officially at 60-59. I'm above 500. But this was not a contest. It was all Atlanta. Tampa Bay maybe got a few points late in the game. But not saying it even looks. This is what's wrong with Thursday Night Football. That's why people don't watch. Is because the games are blowouts or ugly. And I'm not talking about their color rush uniforms. But Atlanta, Matty Ice takes command. He had at least 4 touchdowns in that game. And, I mean, they're just showing their diamonds. After last year starting the season 5-0. Starting the season 5-0 and only finishing the season 3-8 since. I mean, that doesn't help. But yeah, Matty Ice, 4 touchdowns. He was 25 for 34 for 344 yards. I mean, he was all over the field. But he was spreading it a lot too. He had 2, 4, 6, 7 different receivers, and 4 of them all had at least 1 touchdown. So I mean, it was all Atlanta in that game. But we move on. We move on to Sunday action. And first and foremost, we have Dallas at Cleveland. And in my mind, what are we thinking? Who are we thinking? Who are we kidding? Do we even really think Cleveland has a chance? But yet maybe, just maybe, since they have nothing to play for, this might be the game. It'd be a cruel twist of fate if, like, say, hey, oh, Dak Prescott gets hurt. That Ezekiel Elliott gets hurt. And the Cowboys, the Browns, the city of Cleveland. Maybe this is what Dallas needs to get their reality check. They go to Cleveland, and the reality check sets in, and they're just, they lift that curse. And they take it back to Dallas with them. Don't know if they really want to play against Cleveland, but in all honesty, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Dallas, they go into Cleveland. Cleveland maybe put up a little fight, but I think Dallas can at least win by 3 touchdowns if they want to. But I'm picking Dallas in this game. In my mind, that's a no-brainer.
After splitting the uprights, McManus to kick it away.
Next, Jacksonville at Kansas City. And boy, oh boy, at the beginning of the season, I would have thought that this game could have been a potential, maybe a potential playoff match. I wouldn't say AFC champion game, but it could have been a match between 2 division champions, division leaders at the time. But no, Jacksonville just plain all sucks. Kansas City, they're in a heated race in the AFC West. I mean, ever since, wherever Andy Reid goes, he knows how to win. I know his last few seasons in Philly, they didn't go so well. But, come on. But ever since he's gone to Kansas City, become the Kool-Aid Man, looks like Kool-Aid Man doppelganger. Kansas City has been just that good of a team. The only thing is, Kansas City will be out. Kansas City will not have Alex Smith, if I'm correct. They'll have Nick Foles will get the start, and their running backs. Ever since they got traded Niall Davis, who was their 4th-string running back, Jamal Charles, he's on IR. Ware, he's hurt, concussion, I think. I know they signed somebody, I think I saw, but since I truly think Kansas City is the home team. Jacksonville, they fired their offensive coordinator. I don't think that's going to make that much difference. Kansas City at home, Kansas City wins. My pick, Kansas City. Excuse me. Okay, AFC East matchup. We got the New York Jets at Miami. This is a big game in the East. Potential crucial game in the East, because if anyone wants to make some momentum, make some noise in the East, excuse me. I mean, the Jets are in last place in the East. Miami is just ahead of them. And Miami, their running back, Ajayi, what's his face? 2 straight 200-yard games, 250 games, something ridiculous like that. I mean, it's Ajayi. I think he might be one of those, like, what were we thinking on passing up on this guy, sort of, but I think this is a close game because it could go either way. But since the game is in Miami, I mean, the Jets, yes, both teams have been on winning streaks, 2-game win streaks. The game is in Miami, though. I'm going to lean towards Miami in this one. Field goal attempt again real quick.
This will be kicked from the 42. It's a 52-yard attempt. And the 38-year-old
sure but I gotta go with Miami in this one. Miami is the home team. I gotta go with the home team in this one. But I feel like the Jets, I mean, they had to go back to Fitzpatrick, and you know, I don't count the Jets out of this one. I think it's going to be a close game. But I think Miami, with their running game now, they edge out. They get the W. NFC North matchup. The Minnesota Vikings hosting Detroit Lions. I'm sure Minnesota is just thanking Odin that they're home. I mean, they haven't lost a home game. They've lost 2 on the road. They're back at home.
The Broncos offense now
And just like, yes, Odin's beard, we're home.
They got field goal last time.
And just their passing game, they're 28th in the league, 31st in the rushing, and 31st in total yards. So, oof. I mean, for the most part, you look at Minnesota's first 5 wins. They played Tennessee. Defense helped them there. They took care of Tennessee. Week 2, they won. They beat Green Bay by 3 points. 3 measly points. Like I'll keep saying and always will say, mainly because the Packers decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking a field goal. And I don't blame the Packers. But then they beat Carolina easily 22-10. They beat the Giants at home easily 24-10. And then they beat Houston easily 31-13 at home. After that bye, they've only scored 10 points in both games.
It's caught at the 10. A huge play there for Denver.
I mean, they've only managed 10 points against the Eagles and 10 points against the Bears on the road, and they both lost 21-10 and 20-10. And I don't know about this one. This is a close game. It's on. They're at home. Detroit's up and down. I mean, Detroit, they are -7 on the net points. They're 4-4 on the season. They've won games they should have lost and lost games that they should have won. But it just depends on how well that offensive line for Minnesota holds up. And like, obviously, I want to go against Minnesota. I want to pick Detroit in this one. But for most of my games so far this week, I've been leaning towards home field advantage. But you know what? I gotta flip this. I mean, obviously, Dallas at Cleveland. Dallas is going to win. But then I picked Kansas City. I picked Miami because they're both the home teams. Now, do I think Jacksonville has a chance over Kansas City? Yes, but not really. But legitly, Detroit could easily be the next Oakland team.
Nowadays, they're a big part of the passing offense.
Quit acting like you're so old. You're only 65. Looks like the defense in press coverage.
Excuse me, but I have to go with Detroit in this one. I have to go with Detroit in this one. I think Detroit pulls up the upset. Minnesota falters some more. And Minnesota will start. I mean, they have a new offense coordinator now. But that's not going to help their offensive line. Their offensive line is horrible. And I'm sure they're just happy that they have the lead in the North at the moment. But it's going to be a tough and close game. Because looking at Detroit beat Indianapolis by 4 points. But then they lost to Tennessee by 1 at home. They lost to the Packers by 7 on the road. They lost to Chicago by 3 on the road. But then they beat Philly. They beat LA. They beat Washington. Then they lose to Houston. They were on a three-game win streak, and then they lost. So I think after this game, they have a bye. And I think just before the bye, they get this W. I think they beat Minnesota Minnesota would wish that we can go back before the bye week. So, Detroit over Minnesota. NFC East matchup. We have a lot of divisional games this week. Philly at the New York Giants. This is going to be another close game. I think most of these divisional games are going to go one way or another. I think they're going to be really tight, really close games. This one, Philly's going to be looking for redemption. They want bounce back. They want to get the win. And this, winner takes 6th place in the NFC and 2nd place in the East. Giants, they come off the win in London against the Rams. They have a bye, and they might be rested. Oof. Oh. You know what? I originally had Philadelphia in this one, mainly because their defense. They played so great against Dallas early, and they stumbled near the end because of Dak Prescott. Now, Dak Prescott and Eli Manning, are they the same? No. Nowhere near on the same spectrum at the moment. Mainly because Eli's been around in the league longer. He does have 2 Super Bowl rings. But let's put a little asterisk. No, but I'm going to stick with Philly in this one. I think Philly, they continue their glorious ride. They stick around. They win. They beat New York. They beat the Giants in New York, and take one step closer back of trying to regain the East. But that could easily have been. That could have been easily one of these game of the weeks I could have done simulated. But since I did Philly last week, let's get someone new. Oakland, Denver. But Pittsburgh at Baltimore, AFC North matchup, and this is going to be interesting because it depends if Big Ben's back. Even if he is back, how healthy and how useful will he be? I mean, he'll have Le'Veon Bell, he'll have Brown to throw to keep him up. But how good is Baltimore's defense to attack them? I mean, Baltimore, at 3-4, those 4 games they've lost, I'm pretty sure they could have won. But yet those 3 games that they have won, they could have lost. As you look back, they beat Buffalo week 1 by 6. They beat Cleveland week 2 by 5. And they beat Jacksonville week 3 by 2. They started the season 3-0. But since then, oh boy, they've gone 0-4. They just had their bye, and so they come off their bye, hopefully well rested. But they lost to the Raiders by 2, the Redskins by 6, and then back-to-back trips to MetLife Stadium, first against the Giants and then against the Jets, 4-point loss, and then a 8-point loss. But hey, ever since Baltimore, the Ravens came to be, this has been a heated rivalry against the Steelers. And you know what? Since Baltimore is the home team, since Baltimore is the home team, I think I gotta lean that home field advantage. I know I flipped it, went with
but they didn't want 3 points because they were well within range of scoring a
flipped
touchdown.
I'm with you on that one. Let's just go ahead and be frank about the whole thing.
I picked Detroit over Minnesota. Picked Philly over New York. Now I'm flipping. I'm going back to the home team with Baltimore.
You could have kicked that one through.
I don't know about that.
I think Baltimore can bounce back and get the win over the Steelers at home.
Green's got it over the middle. And he's brought down. Give him 12 yards on that one. It earns him a fresh.
Okay, next game. Let's see. We already had 1, 2, 3, 4 divisional games so far.
So here we go.
And we have at least one more to
now.
get to. But next game on the docket, Carolina at Los Angeles. The Panthers finally get a win.
Shotgun snap
The
is
Rams are still,
toward the center
they're
of the
trying
field,
to,
but it's incomplete.
the Rams still trying to figure out what's the dealio. Quarterback issues. Jeff Fisher, he's so stubborn on
Second down
keeping,
here after the incomplete pass.
what's his name? Case Keenum in. And, I mean, they've lost 3 straight. They started the season
They'll look to throw. Surveying the field.
3-1 and then have lost 3 in a row.
Incomplete.
Carolina,
Good job
I
by the
mean,
O-line quarterback.
it looked
Had time to go
like
through
Carolina
checks. That's one you need to
was
take
going to be
A perfect situation, and they're unable to take
was going to
advantage
be
of it when you have that much
back to
time
where they
stay
were.
on the field.
I mean, they
You
lost
have
week
to
1
find
by a
open
point.
receiver.
They won week 2. Week
Here we
3,
go now, an extra defensive
they
back
lost.
in there on
They
third
got
and
manhandled by Minnesota week 3.
They'll stick with the passing game as he looks to throw. Throwing right side,
But then
that's
Atlanta, they got
complete.
manhandled. Tampa Bay, they
He'll
lost
get
by
a couple
3.
yards shy of
And then
midfield.
New Orleans, they lost by 3 as well.
So much
And they
about
had
this
their
game
bye.
is
They
just
came back. They
understanding
beat the team that they
situation.
beat to
They
make it
have
to the
to
Super Bowl,
execute.
Arizona.
Guard the first
And
down
now
sticks.
take on
Don't
another
let them get there.
NFC West
They
opponent
rally
in the
to make
Rams.
tackle.
And if the referees can actually, maybe be on Cam Newton's side for once,
So
they
trailing
might,
here in the last quarter. Let's see how
they
this
might
plays out.
actually get some good calls and, things go their way.
Gotta try it here.
But
He's back to throw. Over the middle,
with,
it's time to
what is
fire.
it?
And
LA
he'll cut the
is
first
3-4
across
and
midfield to the
Carolina's
47.
2-5.
6 yards on the pickup, and on
And
fourth down, they're able to
I want
convert
to say
and move the sticks.
Carolina is going in the right direction. Los Angeles is going in the wrong direction.
Now that had to feel good, didn't it?
And in
Taking
this
that type of
one,
a
I
gamble,
have to
making
go
it
with
pay
Carolina.
off. What a throw.
And
Knowing how
tough as a
much I don't
receiver
really
because
care
no matter
for
how perfect
Cam
the
Newton.
pass, you know it's fourth
I mean,
down and you
especially
gotta
how he
convert.
dresses in
A little bit
postgame.
of
But you
extra
know what?
pressure, but
He
overcame
makes
it.
millions of dollars. He can
They'll
dress
come out
whichever way
in
he
the
wants.
pistol.
But it doesn't matter what you wear. It all depends on what you say and your body language. Body language
And he'll get it inside
and
the 40 to the
what you
39.
say, what you
They'll give it 8 on the
wear.
play, and that'll make it
Y-
second down.
sometimes you can make it work, sometimes you don't. And if that's how he wants to dress and so forth, let be. He's a grown man. He can wear whatever he wants. But anyways, Carolina. I like Carolina in this one. I just think LA is just going the wrong way. New Orleans at San Francisco.
Over the middle, and
Ah.
it's incomplete.
I mean, New Orleans, they at least won a couple games and lost a few close ones. They're 3-4. They're still in the thick of things in the South. I mean, yeah, they lost to Atlanta earlier in the season, but they're still hanging in there. There's still a possibility. Maybe for a wild card, they just gotta get some wins, and against San Francisco, I think that's very possible. The 49ers, I don't know what to say about them. I mean, especially how they started the season beating LA, but then haven't won since.
It was a huge
I mean,
pickup. What they really want, though,
are
is
they
not
going to
get
fire
the
Chip
third
Kelly
down.
at the end of the
They gotta
season?
maximize time and conserve
I
as
don't
much
know.
as possible.
I mean, compared to when Chip Kelly was brought into Philly, Philly was built. Philly didn't have a losing season the 3 seasons that Chip Kelly was there. I mean, Chip was fired at the end of last year, but I still think they finished second last year
They gave up the completion there
in the
because of what
East.
zone defenses count on. Catching the ball,
But that wasn't good enough for the owners and something like that. Yeah, Philly was 7-9. And yeah, so they had a losing record. But I mean, it's not like Chip Kelly made that team uber bad. Now when he joined San Francisco was already uber bad. I mean, can't make up his mind at quarterback. I mean, if Kaepernick was his old self, oh my goodness, I think they'd be running all over the field. But I mean, They win against LA. Then they lose to the Cardinals. They lose, or not Cardinals. They lose to Arizona. They lose to Carolina. Carolina at Carolina. San Francisco then lose to Seattle, Dallas, then they lose to Arizona, lose to Buffalo, and they lose to Tampa Bay. None of those games are really any close. They get their bye, now they take on New Orleans. New Orleans is struggling. They are home, San Fran, but I don't think that's going to help them at all this week. I'm pretty sure New Orleans, they get on track, and then they get the W out west.
Defense sinking pass. They've got the nickel set out on
Green Bay hosting Indianapolis. Indianapolis at Green Bay. And, okay. I can talk about this for days if I really want to. I mean, Green Bay, oof. Tough loss last week against Atlanta. They're still in the thick of things. They really are. But the thing is, it's hard to watch because they're so beat up on everywhere. When your top cornerbacks and running backs and your second, fourth string wideouts are hurt, that hurts one key area, special teams. Because the players that are now stepping up, those third, fourth string cornerbacks, those third string running backs, those fifth string wide receivers that have to step up into the line on the line now. Play offense, play defense. They're the same guys that play special teams, that make up the special teams, and those guys get tired. And that's going to suffer. And that's what really hurts teams with injuries, especially at those few positions at DBs and backfield and wideouts. Because most of those players that are fifth, fourth, third strings, whatever, they play special teams and so on and so forth. And they're going to get tired, especially on special teams. So it hurts. It hurts. I mean, Green Bay, this game really hurt the most. I mean, their loss to Minnesota is like, they look bad on offense. Their loss against Dallas, they were bad. Offense finally semi-clicked in the second half, but it was a little too late. Their win against Chicago, same thing. Didn't get started till the second half. But right away from the get-go, Green Bay at Atlanta last week, their offense was clicking. Their offense looked great, the best it's been all season. But when it was all said and done, their defense just couldn't stop Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan got the last say, and it's, the Packers, they were a play or two away, just didn't get that the stop, and they couldn't get the last chance. So, but they're still in it. Their opponent, Indianapolis, I don't know where to start with them. They lose a close game against Detroit week 1. They let that happen. Then they get beaten by Denver. They get a win over San Diego. Then they lose to Jacksonville in London by 3, a divisional foe. But they come back, they beat Chicago. They're like, yes. But then they lose another divisional foe, Houston. But they beat divisional foe in Tennessee. But then they lose to Kansas City. So they've been almost alternating wins and losses every other week. And if the pattern continues since week 3, they would win this weekend. But I don't think so. But mainly the home team. Home team advantage. 9 times out of 10, well, maybe 8 times out of 10, I'll pick the home team. And this time, as usual, I'll pick my Green Bay Packers over Indianapolis. I think with Green Bay at home, if they get Ty Montgomery back, he's healthy. And the Packers, they start off the game, offensively speaking, start off the game strong. I think it might yet be another shootout. It might come down to whoever has the ball last. And I'm hoping that's Green Bay. But Indy, in all honesty, I think Indy has a. I'll give the Colts a 30% chance of winning, but because of Green Bay's lack of depth in the backfield, not backfield, deep defensive backs. But if the Packers can get the pressure on Andrew Luck, Packers win. Tennessee at San Diego. Titans, Chargers, two teams that are looking to finally climb out of the basement, finally make a statement, and finally return to playoff contenders. Tennessee's wondering if DeMarco Murray, if he's fully healthy, but Derrick Henry, he's right there. He's ready. He got his first touchdown of the season last week. San Diego, I feel San Diego is the best of the worst. Their record does not reflect on who they are. And they still find a way to lose. And that's why I think Tennessee has more of the momentum. They have more of everything. San Diego, not quite. San Diego's the home team here, but I gotta go with Tennessee. I think Tennessee is gonna run wild on San Diego, but it may come down to the wire. But I'm picking Tennessee to win this one. Ooh, excuse me. Now finally, game of the week, Sunday Night Football. Denver at Oakland, the game you've been watching. The game you've been listening, you've been watching as I've been expressing opinions and comments about football. This is Oakland's year to make that leap. They're making that leap. They made that leap this year. And Oakland will make the playoffs. I'm almost going to guarantee it now. I didn't think they would. I thought they would lose some games that they did win, and vice versa. Oakland at home right here. I think Oakland. Denver, on the other hand, their defense, I mean, it's a little surprising that, in my opinion, Denver is 6-2 as well. But this is where I got to go with the home team advantage. I mean, Oakland, you're going to be happy. You're going to be proud. You never know. Dallas, Oakland, Super Bowl 50, 51. I can see it happening. I can see them running the table. Excuse me. But you still got a long ways to go. Denver's defending AFC West champions, AFC champions, and Super Bowl champions. But this will be a great test for Oakland to see how real they are. Can they get away with another, 25 penalties in a game? No, they couldn't. They can't. They can't win the season, win games with 25 penalties per game. But like the score says right now, and like my heart feels, I do believe Oakland at home will beat the AFC champions, the current AFC champions, reigning AFC champions, reigning Super Bowl champions, and give them their third loss of the season. But like I said earlier, if Kansas City wins the next 2 weeks, because Oakland, I believe, has a bye next week. If Kansas City wins their next 2 games, they will jump Oakland for first place. But anyways, Oakland gets the W over Denver. So, and last but not least, Monday Night Football. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Buffalo at Seattle. And I think Seattle's record does not reflect who they are. Seattle is 4-2-1. I feel like they're more. They should have lost to Atlanta a few weeks ago. But there's always this charm that Seattle and Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll just have with them. It's like they may seem to be down and out, but no, they always pull something out of nowhere. But at 4-2-1, division is still wide open in the West. And Buffalo,
digging the toes.
Buffalo
And that's
is
gonna be a first down. Well done.
it's questionable. I feel like Seattle is not as good as people think they truly are. But Buffalo, they're ready to make that next step this week.
As we get your reset here.
They feel they're at 4-4. They're ready to make that push for the playoffs. They're going to be a bubble team. Buffalo's going to be a bubble team. They're going to be like right now, they're number 7. And I think if they want to make the playoffs, if Buffalo wants to make the playoffs, they need to go to Seattle on Monday night and beat Seattle, which I truly believe is going to happen. I truly believe that will happen. Buffalo goes into Seattle and gets the W. So, if you want to say that's my upset, there's plenty of these games that are going to come in close. But with Russell Wilson being hurt and lack of offense, more to say or less, Buffalo wins. So those are my picks. We have a minute and a half or so left in this game. Oakland has an 11-point lead, and Denver has the ball on 3rd and 11.
He's got time.
Oh.
Did he keep the feet in? Yes,
So what do we need? What does Denver need to come back to tie, to come back to win? 11 points. If they get a touchdown, they got to go for 2. They could settle for a field goal, try an onside kick, and then get a touchdown, 2 points. But they're down by 2 scores. It's just the thing is, what comes first, touchdown or field goal? Because if they get that touchdown and miss the 2-point conversion, they have to get another touchdown.
So after that big gain, let's see what else
So what are we on? We're 1st and 10 at Oakland's 42. I do think this is going to be a close game, but if Oakland starts committing penalties, I think Denver will win. It's going to be interesting to see how Carr deals with Von Miller and company. So we're down to 1 minute and counting. 1 minute and counting. They're at Oakland's 24-yard line. Pressure gets away. Woo. They got to hurry up. Time's ticking. They have all 3 timeouts too. So man just makes me laugh sometimes. So what? Oh, false start. Everyone on the offensive line jumped besides the center. Full start on the offense. But we'll see. Here we go. 45 seconds. Ball. See, ball's at the 22. Yeah, ball's at the 22-yard line. I'm sure that's accurate. 2nd and 8. 45 seconds. Clock stopped, though. Really shouldn't. Clock shouldn't have. Clock should still be running, in my opinion. Oh, under center. Oh, wide open. Timeout. They have no. They got to hurry up. They got to hurry up, though.
And the offense moving quickly to the line. Simeon.
And he just throws it away with 29 seconds left. Oh, my goodness. They don't have much. I mean, the only plus is Denver still has all 3 timeouts. Denver has the ball. I mean, this would be good to practice for the 2-point conversion for sure, because they gotta get 2 yards. They gotta get a touchdown. So what are we at? He gets a snap. That's the thing though. Why is the clock still ticking? That makes no sense. Now, and 12 seconds. I don't know why the clock still ticked. They gotta kick the field goal right here. They have to kick the field goal, in my opinion, because they still need a touchdown 2-point conversion. So kicking a field goal won't be so bad. We'll see what Peter thinks. Oh, Trevor Siemian and company. Are they going to go for it? Oh, maybe going for it would be better. Maybe going for it would be better because if you get the touchdown, you get the 2 points. Then you're down by 3. You cover the onside kick, get down the field a little bit, call timeout. He gets the touchdown. But they're 10 seconds. At least the 2-point conversion will be untimed. That's the only plus. To be honest, if they run the same exact play, they should get the 2 points. Onside kick.
Okay, forget the field goal because that looked like an easy 3 points. Yeah, you might have had a defensive breakdown in there, but
that's the one problem is when you get so close to the goal line, you don't have much room for wide receivers to run and get loose and so forth. So that's always tough. And like you want to run the ball, but the clock is ticking. I don't know why the clock kept ticking after the ball hit off the goalpost. It was an incomplete pass, and oh, he's sacked.
Pressure gets there, and he goes down. So he couldn't get rid of the football, and that deficit.
So here we go, onside kick. They got to recover it, and now they have to get a touchdown. They first have to recover the onside kick. They're probably going to, like, at least 3 to 4 seconds are probably going to come off that clock. Oh, and Siemian gets sacked.
I think most teams are going to be aggressive and force the issue and try and bring pressure.
But I think Man's going to get this right, Oakland, and I think Man will finally be back at 500 since week 1, the end of week 1. It'll be amazing. I mean, it's been wrong 2 weeks in a row, but then it's been alternating. Man's been wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong, right, wrong, right. So here we go. 10 seconds left in this game. Onside kick.
So looking at this situation, you should have time for the onside kick and then at least one play.
And
this
nope.
Is be recovered by the hands team.
That will do it.
Just about put a capper on this one. Well, fourth quarter, they felt
If
like
Denver
they
calls
needed
all
more.
3 timeouts,
Unfortunately,
I'm
they
going to be a
couldn't
little frustrated because there's nothing they can do. They won't have any time. 1 second comes off the clock.
80% of the time, the team expecting it, they do actually recover the ball, which is what we saw here. I just wonder if that number is much more of a anecdotal type of a number. Kind of like when the coaches tell us, well, when you score on special teams, 93% of the time you win the game. I'm still waiting to see that number is empirical.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Yeah, they more or less do have to run the ball just a little bit just to get time off the clock.
Broncos are going to take a timeout. It's just their first. They've got 2 more to use here in the final stages.
There's no point of calling timeouts. There really isn't. Game's over. You lost. Game is over, Denver. Don't waste the timeouts. Don't be a sore loser. Just let the game run out. In all honesty, I think they wasted not using their timeouts earlier. But okay, come on, Oakland. Get out of get out of your huddle.
And on 2nd and 10 now.
It'll be another handoff. Hopefully it takes 5 seconds off the clock.
They go with Murray again.
3, 2, 1. Oh, come on, Denver.
And as the 2 teams talk it over on
There's
their
no
respective
point.
sidelines, we take a
There's
break.
no point of using a timeout right now unless you're a sore loser. But now Oakland can get in victory formation, take a knee, 1 second,
All right, so
comes off the
timeout
clock,
over and all 11 men back out onto the field for the
and
defense.
that's the game. Unless for some, the only thing that could happen is a botch snap, fumble. Denver picks up and runs it back for a touchdown. I would pee my pants if that happens. And especially if that would ever happen in a real life game. I know you had the Miracle at the Meadowlands. That's where the victory formation, they started using that more often because of the Miracle at the Meadowlands, but the odds are slim to none.
Victory
There's the
very
knee.
much inside.
Game's
They'll
over.
take a knee.
Oakland
Well, I know at points
gets
in
the
this when you want to
W.
close your eyes. because of all the points that were
30
being put on
to
the scoreboard,
25.
your defensive guy, but it was a fun little track meet, wasn't it?
It was.
I think, I truly think Oakland will get the win here. Denver's going to suffer their third loss season, but it's going to be a tight and tough race down the stretch between these two teams. And with Kansas City just one win behind them, same number of losses, just one less win. With these two teams facing each other at the end of the season, we'll have to see if there's any playoff implications on the line in Week 17 when I do my final regular season Madden simulation. If a divisional crown's on the line, but playoff spots aren't, that would influence. But I know these two teams don't play against each other until the end of the season, and I think that one's going to be just as good, depending on how this actually turns out. So, anyways, there's your winner. You got Oakland over Denver, 30 to 25. Madden gets this right, they're back at 500. So, thanks for watching. Until next time, see ya.